All right, Nick, what else we got?
There have been plenty of headlines throughout week 2 of OTAs, but one of the bigger ones, or one of the most notable ones, I should say, coming from one of the quietest players of the Steelers locker room, Isaac Seumalo, was praising center rookie Zach Frazier and what he's been able to do in the first 2 weeks, but is not ruling out another name as somebody that could potentially win the starting job at center, saying, quote, I will say Nate Herbig's been doing a great job. It'll be a fun competition for both of them. So Siamalu not ruling out Herbig. What do you guys think about a potential competition between the rookie and the vet in Nate Herbig?
Yeah, I definitely got some thoughts on whether or not the Pittsburgh Steelers should make this a real competition between Herbig and Frazier. But I've thought about this for a while, so I'll let you go first. What's your thoughts on, I don't know, do the Steelers actually make this a competition? Should they actually make this a competition right from the jump as we approach week 3 OTAs?
I think they should, and I don't think you really have another choice. I mean, I think this is kind of the same thing as, Dan Moore versus, it's complicated, but, Dan Moore versus Troy Fautanu / Broderick Jones, who can make that move? Who can, is Troy ready to step up to right? Can Broderick move over to left? Things like that. I think this is generally kind of the same idea. You've got a rookie, and for as talented as I think Frazier is, same with Fautanu, but for as talented as I think this rookie is, he is still a rookie. I mean, this guy just hasn't done anything in the NFL yet. I don't think it's irresponsible at all to, say, hey, we've got this veteran in place. We believe in him as a center. We need to have multiple options. Okay, like, yeah, we've invested a lot of draft capital in Zach Frazier, but if he doesn't work out, we can't just be screwed. We have to have someone who's ready to step in to be that guy. And I don't think it's unreasonable to say, while Frazier works to learn the playbook, to really get his feet under him at an NFL level, that Nick Herbig, a guy who has a little bit more experience at center at the professional level, has done this before. He probably should be taking, first team reps right now. He should be leading the competition per se. Like, Frazier's going to have to earn his way onto the field just like any rookie does. So, I think until they have full confidence in Frazier, I think you gotta leave this an open competition. It's not ideal to have Nick Herbig, I think, as your starting center, just because you're one injury at either guard spot away from really being in trouble. Because then you've got to bring in an inexperienced Frazier, and you got to move Herbig quickly over to one of the guard spots, and I think that creates kind of a mess, and you're real thin there. But ideally, you have Frazier as your week 1 starting center, but I don't think he's there yet. So I think he's got to earn his way into that spot first.
Yeah, so I agree that I think Frazier has to earn it, and that you have to have Herbig ready to go. I don't know. I think if I'm the Steelers, which I agree with your mindset, because that is the Pittsburgh Steelers mindset. Like, they're going to approach it the same way they approach every rookie. There's no way Troy Fautanu's competing with Broderick Jones and Dan Moore while Zach Frazier's just stepping into a starting role. It's the same thing with like Roman Wilson. Like, everybody's talking about how he's already the wide receiver 2. If you ask the Pittsburgh Steelers, Roman Wilson's going to step. They're going to be very roundabout about the situation and say things like, well, Van Jefferson's a professional and Quez Watkins has experience, and Scotty Miller, and they're going to do everything they can to make sure that Roman Wilson doesn't feel like he's going to be handed everything. And I think that's what they'll do with every rookie. I agree with the second part of that, though, whereas if the Steelers are trying to make this the best case scenario is Zach Frazier is your starting center. Like, that just makes too much sense. Even in the sense of, like, Nate Herbig doesn't have, he's not the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's on the last year of his contract. He doesn't have the starting experience in Pittsburgh that I think Dan Moore has, whereas in like that one still probably doesn't. Like, you should want Troy Fautanu to be the starting right tackle with Broderick Jones being the starting left tackle for the Steelers. But to have Dan like have to lose his spot, he's already earned it. So I get that. Whereas in Herbig is a guy that he's here probably for the last year of his deal, and then you're most likely going to move on from him because you have Mason McCormick and Spencer Anderson. And to just kind of put him out there and really force the issue and say, hey, Herbig's got to lose the job, I think that might, come back to hurt the Steelers, because I agree with you. I think ideally he's your backup. You make sure that McCormick gets a full year and Spencer Anderson gets another year to kind of develop, and Frazier's your center, because, I mean, he should be your starting center. You shouldn't really have it should be an easy competition. Like even if Herbig gets the team 1 reps heading into training camp, which so far it's kind of, I don't know, it's tough to say who's getting reps where, because you're really only watching individual drills and they change things up all the time. But when we go to training camp, if Herbig's like the first team center on day 1, I don't want them to hold that for weeks, like make it okay, Herbig takes snaps on day 1, day 2, Frazier takes day snaps, and eventually lead into Frazier's taking team 1 snaps, Herbig's taking kind of backup snaps.
Yeah, and I mean that's competition, right? Like
Yeah.
that's how it works. I mean, it seems like it should be a formality at this point. Like I think Frazier, excuse me, is going to end up being the better player, but he's got to actually, show that. He's got to go through the competition. He's got to actually check those boxes before I feel real comfortable throwing him out there for week 1.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that'll happen. I'm very confident in Zach Frazier. The dude just looks like eats, breathes, and sleeps football and woodworking. So I don't have, a low bar for him.